Hi, it's Vincent here, and today I'm here with Geoff Baldwin from Remax over in WA. He's the owner of the Remax franchise over there in Western Australia. And we're at the Australian Real Estate Awards, and congratulations, Geoff, you've won the Best Training and Education Award.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, very proud. Unexpected, but certainly very happy to have won that award.
And I've read a lot of your articles and things that you actually share. I know you spend a lot of time on Facebook sharing your opinion about certain things, and there's just so much, the wealth of knowledge that you've got around this industry, and it's interesting even the fact that you've lived in the Hawkesbury as well previously.
Well, actually, I love the fact that you say it's the Hawkesbury. I actually live in the western suburbs of Sydney, which, in fact, in Perth, the western suburbs are a very posh area. So when people say, where do you come from? I say, well, I was born in the western suburbs. So it goes down very well in Perth, but in Sydney, probably not as well. I'm a Blacktown boy, actually.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Well, I spent a lot of time on my push bike up in Hawkesbury.
Yeah. I remember we were talking about that. So, and I just wanted to raise a couple of things that seem to be happening out there for consumers, that when they're actually putting their place on the market, whether they're even selling or buying at the moment, there's a lot of different price structures.
Yes, there are.
We're seeing this set sale, price on application, auction, just listed, property launches, all these different things. What's your take on that?
Look, the truth of the matter is that buyers, when they get set out to buy, set themselves a budget. But history shows, and buyers mightn't like hearing this, but history shows that buyers tend to spend about 5 to 8% more than they think they're going to spend. So any agent that ignores that, and there goes an aeroplane overhead, beautiful plane. Buyers who ignore that tend to, or sellers who ignore that tend to miss out. So the most important thing to remember is that a buyer, when they set out to buy, is usually going to spend more. But the problem is that the seller, when they put their house on the market, and I'm the same as all sellers, think my house is the best house that's coming onto the market. So we tend to think, well, it's worth X plus 10%.
Yep.
So what you have is a situation where you've got a buyer that's likely to pay your price, looking well below your price, and a seller marketing their house well above what it's worth. Now, sellers mightn't like hearing that either, but it's a fact. So sellers are well above the markets, buyers below, and never the twain shall meet. So what agents are confronted with is this: how do we get the two together? So they've come up with this myriad of different methods that avoid putting a fixed price on a property. Now let me say, I don't agree with putting fixed prices on properties, because 99% of properties that have a fixed price on them sell for less.
Yeah.
So to me, that's not a smart thing for a seller to do. On the other hand, you've got auction, which has no price, and a lot of buyers don't like that because they don't know where they stand, they don't know whether they're in the game or not. So people have come up with from pricing and set sale pricing and all those sorts of things just to get buyers there, so that buyers can give an opinion as to what they think the property's worth. And really, the buyer's writing the check, so it makes sense to get a buyer's opinion on what a property's worth, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I figure we've got to find a method that puts the two together. So that's the intention, is to get two people together, a seller and a buyer.
Because that's one of the things that I see is that, and the range that they put out there, like a place that I was telling you about, they've got it on the market. I went and had a look at it. They've got an offer at $520 at the moment, and their house is on the market offers from $499,000. Now, the problem with that is that when you go on to realestate.com.au, they've priced it at $499,000, and only buyers that are 500 and below are actually looking at that particular property. So it's not actually coming onto the radar for someone who's actually got more than $500,000 to spend.
Look, that terminology, putting it on the radar, is the most important thing. When we put our house on the market, we want it to be on the radar. We want it to be on the radar of the likely buyer pool who's going to be looking in that range. Okay, so in the situation you've just articulated, you've got it in the wrong range, and the buyers are the wrong buyers.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is, going back to what I said, is that you've got buyers looking below what they are going to spend in the greater percentage of cases. Set our budget here, we end up spending more. And the reason we spend more is because we buy from the heart and not from the wallet.
Yeah.
We might think we're buying from the wallet, but when we find that house we really love, we think our family would love to live here, we'd love to live here, and the heart takes over, and people tend to, once they fall in love with the house, find the money. They'll find it or they don't.
Yeah, they'll move heaven and earth to get
the money.
Property,
so, absolutely, and I've done it. I'm a real estate agent, but I'm the biggest sucker in the world. When I fall in love with the property, I want it, and I'll do whatever I've got to do to to find the money to buy that property because the heart takes over.
Yeah.
You know, when you buy a car, when you buy a new diamond ring, when you buy a house, it's not. They say every purchase, no matter what it is an emotional purchase. And people say, well, what about toilet paper? And I say, well, try looking at the wall when there's none there. It's
pretty emotional.
So it's emotional. So every purchase is an emotional purchase. But the thing is, the emotions can't take over, and the heart can't take over. It can't fall in love with something that they don't see. So we want more and more buyers to come and see our property, create that sense of competition, so that we can sell it, basically.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, the traditional pricing strategies aren't working.
No, I totally agree. And it just seems to be a case that a lot of people are actually in a position where when they go below, and then you get all these buyers coming in at this lower level, all of a sudden the owner's suddenly saying, well, maybe this is what it's really worth. And the agent's actually saying, well, we've had 10 offers now at 499,000 or below, so maybe it's not worth over 500, but yet they're not even targeting that market. So there's a lot of people I think are actually underselling their property at the moment.
Look, I've come up with a strategy which I've been using. We've been using it for 20 years, and we've worked with that strategy, and we've honed it to the point where it really works. It's called buyer feedback ranging. And as it suggests, we're looking for feedback from buyers. Now, sellers think, well, if you rely on what buyers say, you're going to get a lower price. But the fact is that's untrue, because when you get a lot of buyers looking at a property and they're all interested, guess what? There's competition.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll pay what it's worth. So buyer feedback ranging is where you set a price, what you think that the property is worth. And it's really important that you, as a seller, and the agent agree, because it's no good you think it's worth this and the agent think it's down here. Once you agree through, consultation and looking at market evidence and all those things, because the only evidence that really depicts what a likely selling price is other sales. That's it. Yeah. Not other asking prices, because they don't mean anything. It's what properties have sold for. So you take the average price in an area and then work out where you stand in relation to that average price, or where you think you stand, and then put it in a very wide buyer feedback range. And I suggest 8% below the expectation, so that you get a real attraction for people, and 8% above, so that you don't cap your price.
Okay.
And what we found by doing that, and unfortunately a lot of agents who don't understand it, they narrow the range. And by narrowing the range,
you're losing the bottom end who'll come up.
And you're also losing the top end.
Yeah, makes sense.
We've had many situations where we've had buyer feedback ranges of 8% either side, and we've sold above the top.
Wow.
Generally it'll sell somewhere in the middle. But the fact is, you get so many people through. We find about 3 times as many people through a property that is in the correct buyer feedback range compared to a fixed price property.
So let's say this house I was talking about, as an example. Let's say they're looking at selling, they'll take about 530, 540 for the home. Would they market it, say, buy a range from 499 through to 560? Is that sort of...
So what did you say the expectation? What about
530, 540?
Look, whatever you have it below, you've got to have it above. So if it's 40 grand, in that situation, I'd be 40 grand below the expectation to get people through, remembering what I said before, and that is that buyer that thinks they're going to buy a house for 40 grand below is not. They're going to buy a house at that expectation. Okay. Make it a little bit easier for me, because I know the maths.
Yeah.
If you had a house that you thought was going to sell for 500, 510, that should be priced 460 to 540. Okay, and you'll find that you'll achieve your price, and very, very often you'll achieve more, providing you've got an agent that's educated in buyer feedback ranging and understands the concept. If you haven't, forget it, don't use it.
Yeah, no, I understand. No, that's great. And the other, just on this as well, there's another strategy that you've used that I know is starting to filter out into the real estate market, and that's at the open homes.
Yes.
There's a lot of people who go through the open homes, and the agents are in a situation where they struggle to get any real feedback or any real price indication from a buyer. How do you overcome that?
Look, let's face it, people don't go out on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon to meet real estate agents. As much as we love that to be the case, it's an unrealistic expectation. Yeah. So people don't get up in the morning and go, guys, let's go out this afternoon and meet some real estate agents. They go out there because they're genuinely in the market to either buy a house or sell a house. Because a lot of people go to home opens to suss out real estate agents and to suss out prices and to work out what their own house is worth. But also, of course, the majority of people in home opens are buyers. But they're not into getting into a conversation with the agent if they can avoid it. They want to have a look at the house, work out what it's worth, and get out of there.
Yeah.
And if they're interested, then they'll have a conversation. So what I believe is a good way to break the ice and have a bit of fun is put a bottle of Moet champagne on the table and some entry forms and say, look, give us even if you don't like the house, can you give us an honest opinion of what you think this house will sell for, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer? And the nearest entry, regardless of whether you buy the house or not, the nearest entry will win that bottle of Moet champagne. Now, most people like to have a sip of Moet a couple of times in their life. So we find it's a very successful thing. Now, what happens is after you've had, 10, 12, 15 people through the property, you've got 10 or 12 real opinions. They're not people who are trying to buy the property cheap. They mightn't even be interested, but they're giving you a real opinion, a genuine opinion on what they think that property's worth, because they want to win that bottle of Moet champagne.
It's a great idea because they've seen all the other different properties that are on the market with the other agents, and they're out there in the field, and they're in a situation where they've got a pretty good idea, so long as they're actually reading the market and they've been in the market for a while. So I think it's a great idea, great strategy, and I know that you're the one that invented it, and I understand that it's starting to roll out into the real estate industry, so I think it's terrific.
To be really honest, I'm not sure if I am the one that invented it. I may have been, I just can't remember. I believe there's no new ideas, It's quite possible that I picked up that idea from a collection of other ideas from other people. So if somebody out there is thinking, well, Geoff, you're stealing that idea, then I apologise. But I tell you what, it's been very successful for me. It works, and like everything that I do, I'm happy to share it with as many people as possible, so that we can create a sense of sharing in the industry, and certainly a sense of sharing with the people that pay us, and they are our paying clients.
Yeah, and I think it's all about raising the professionalism of our industry and that giving them that sort of honest feedback. So, Geoff, it was great to catch up with you here today. Once again, congratulations for winning that award. It's well deserved.
Very proud.
You really do shine out when it comes to the real estate training space, and just your wisdom and wealth of knowledge, the depth of what you know is just, we can be here for hours, days literally, just trying to pick this guy's brain. So thanks again for
my pleasure.
tuning in.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
Catch up with you soon.